You've met someone like this before. They walk into a room and suddenly, everyone else is a shade dimmer. They speak little, yet when they do, it lands like a hammer on wet stone. It's not fear, it's not charm, it's something else, something older, more primal, a psychological gravity. We're not talking about charisma. Charisma asks to be liked. This commands fear and respect, without begging, without performing. Friedrich Nietzsche understood this presence. He called it the will to power. Not the will to control others, but to command yourself so fully that the world bends around your silence. And today we're going to dive into how to build that kind of mind, one that rejects weakness, embraces solitude, and cultivates a presence so sharp that people either lean in or back away. But first, ask yourself, does your mind belong to you? Or has it been shaped by everything that wants to tame you? This is not a motivational video. This is a philosophical war. And Nietzsche is your weapon. Most people treat their minds like mirrors, reflecting every noise, trend, trauma, and ideology that flashes across their lives. They react, they adjust, they conform. They call this being flexible. Nietzsche called it slavery. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. To create a mind that commands fear and respect, you must stop absorbing the world and start forging yourself against it. This begins with a brutal truth. You were not born complete. You were born raw, incomplete, and the world rushed in to tell you who to be. Teachers, parents, religion, algorithms. They all handed you a mask and said, "This is you, wear it proudly." But Nietzsche's philosophy is fire, and fire doesn't wear masks, it burns them. He believed in the concept of the Übermensch, a human who forges their own values, stands alone, and speaks truths too heavy for the herd to carry. To become that kind of mind, you must first declare war on passivity, on people-pleasing, on internalizing the guilt and fear they use to domesticate you. He who cannot obey himself will be commanded. Most people are living lives they never designed. They're polite, they're digestible, they're forgettable. But the mind that commands fear and respect, it's carved in defiance, not sculpted by comfort, but by conscious resistance to mediocrity. And the first step? Stop echoing the world. Start crafting your own inner laws. If your first instinct is to be agreeable, if you're afraid of saying no, if you're more worried about being liked than being real, then you're not thinking like a commander. You're thinking like prey. Nietzsche was ruthless on this. He believed modern society was breeding mental sheep, docile, obedient, hollowed out by comfort and conformity. In individuals, insanity is rare, but in groups, parties, nations, and epochs, it is the rule. He wasn't advocating for chaos. He was warning, if you don't define yourself, the crowd will do it for you. Most people, they're scared to be disliked, so they shrink, they bend, they submit to the lowest common denominator. They trade strength for acceptance and end up invisible. But Nietzsche's ideal wasn't politeness, it was authentic power. He believed your instincts, your raw, unfiltered desires, weren't weaknesses to suppress. They were flames to channel. The world says be nice. Nietzsche says become dangerous. Then choose when to be kind. The mind that commands fear and respect doesn't apologize for its presence. It doesn't beg to fit in. It walks into the room with self-defined gravity. It's not arrogant, it's anchored. And here's the twist. People don't truly respect you when you're agreeable. They respect you when you set boundaries. So clear, they can feel them when you enter the room. You don't owe the world a diluted version of yourself. You owe yourself the courage to become undeniable. You want to command fear and respect? You don't get that by avoiding pain. You earn it by walking through it and not flinching. Nietzsche didn't romanticize suffering. He weaponized it. That which does not kill me makes me stronger. Yeah, it's cliché now, but when Nietzsche said it, he meant it literally, physically, spiritually, psychologically. Most people avoid discomfort like it's the plague. They numb it with distractions. They medicate it with validation. They outsource responsibility for their lives to comfort and convenience. But you don't get to build a commanding mind on that foundation. Nietzsche's idea of greatness comes from friction, from collision, from standing in the eye of chaos and saying, "I see you, and I will grow through you." He believed your shadow, your rage, your trauma, your guilt, is not your enemy. It's your raw material. The mind that dominates doesn't avoid pressure. It invites it, because pressure creates intensity, and intensity is the currency of presence. The more you confront your pain, not escape it, not dress it up, but look it straight in the face, the more you become unshakable. The world doesn't follow people who've had easy lives. It follows those who've wrestled with demons and came back with fire in their eyes. That kind of energy doesn't come from fake positivity. It comes from inner violence transformed into vision. If you've been through hell, don't hide the scars, sharpen them, because that pain, it's your signature of survival. And survival in Nietzsche's world isn't the end game. It's the beginning of your evolution. Most people let life happen to them. They wait, they react, they follow scripts written by someone else. But Nietzsche, he believed the mind that commands fear and respect doesn't follow reality. It reshapes it. And the key to that transformation? Will. Your will isn't just desire. It's not a wish or a dream. It's force. Directed, conscious, and unbreakable. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Nietzsche saw will to power as the fuel of evolution, not just physical dominance, but inner domination. The ability to impose your meaning on the world. Look around. Most people are mentally colonized. They live by beliefs they never questioned. They chase goals they never chose. They fear rejection more than regret. But a commanding mind, it doesn't just think, it wills. It builds clarity from chaos. It rejects mediocrity with surgical precision. It says, "This is who I am. This is where I'm going." And nothing, no culture, no critic, no comfort, will stop that. This kind of mind doesn't ask for approval. It demands alignment, not through aggression, but through conviction. Nietzsche's mind was dangerous because it refused to outsource meaning. It didn't obey. It created. And people feel that. That's what commands respect. That's what makes others stop and think, who is this person? When your will becomes unmistakable, you don't need to shout. The world adjusts to you. To command fear and respect, you must first be willing to be misunderstood. Nietzsche warned us, the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. The herd doesn't hate strength, it fears difference. Because difference exposes comfort, and comfort can't survive in the presence of someone who chooses to suffer for clarity. Most people would rather be accepted than be awake. They fear being alone more than being nothing. So they conform, blend in, talk like everyone, think like everyone. And slowly, they vanish. But the mind Nietzsche admired, it walks alone. It must walk alone. Not in bitterness, but in sovereignty. It doesn't chase approval. It provokes truth. This kind of mind threatens the herd because it asks, Why are you doing this? Who told you this was normal? What if everything you believe is just convenient illusion? Most can't answer. They'll laugh, or attack, or ghost you. Because confrontation with truth is not just uncomfortable, it's devastating for those whose identity is built on borrowed thoughts. But this is where fear and respect are born, in the silence that follows your refusal to bow, in the space where you stop playing small to keep others comfortable. Nietzsche's Übermensch doesn't lead because he wants to. He leads because he cannot follow. And people feel that. They may reject it, but they remember it. They respect it because deep down they wish they could do the same. Nietzsche didn't preach peace. He didn't promise comfort. What he offered was dominion over your own chaos. He who cannot obey himself will be commanded. The final transformation, the one that births fear and respect, doesn't happen out there, but in here. Not in books, not in applause, not in rebellion, but in the crucible where your instincts battle your values, where your inner coward whispers, "Give up," and your will replies, "Watch me." To Nietzsche, greatness wasn't a gift. It was a forging, an alchemical process where confusion becomes clarity, rage becomes direction, and pain becomes precision. But there's a price. You'll have to disappoint everyone who ever told you to be realistic. You'll have to burn the masks that made you liked, but kept you small. You'll have to look at yourself with unflinching eyes and say, "Here is where I'm weak. Here is where I'm lying. And here is where I begin again." Most people won't do this. They'll outsource meaning, wait for someone to tell them what they're worth, and call it balance. But a mind that commands fear and respect builds its own structure, its own law, its own truth, not to dominate others, but to never be dominated again. This is self-command, not some alpha fantasy, but a spiritual sovereignty, forged in the fires of brutal honesty. Nietzsche didn't want more leaders. He wanted masters of the self. Because once you tame the chaos inside, what outside force could ever shake you? So how do you bring all of this into the real world? How do you build a presence that commands respect without demanding it? Nietzsche would say, start by becoming unshakable. Not loud, not flashy, just undeniable. People feel it, the silent intensity, the calm in your voice, the way you walk into a room and shift its gravity without ever saying, "Look at me." That's not ego. That's the product of asterisk inner order. A person who has disciplined their mind doesn't need to prove anything. Their clarity radiates. Their no has weight. Their silence speaks volumes. The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. Let that sink in. When you're living by your own philosophy, refined through solitude, suffering, and relentless self-honesty, you become unreadable to the ordinary and unforgettable to the few who recognize it. You're no longer available to everyone. You're not driven by trends, praise, or fear. You're rooted in vision. That's when respect finds you. That's when people lower their voice around you, not because you intimidate, but because you elevate. You don't argue your value, you embody it. You don't play the social chessboard, you redesign the board entirely. And the most powerful thing? You no longer need to be feared or admired, because you've already won yourself. Everything else is just noise. The real goal was never to be feared, it was to be free. Free from the need for approval, free from the cages of conformity, free from the low expectations that others place on your potential. Nietzsche didn't write for the masses. He wrote for the few, the rare minds who are done waiting for permission to evolve. Become who you are, not who you were told to be, not the version they'll accept. but the uncompromised self, sharpened by solitude, sculpted by discipline, and guided by a vision that doesn't come from Instagram quotes, but from the chaos you've survived. This isn't motivation. It's a mental rebellion. Because the truth is, nobody's coming to crown you. Nobody's coming to give you a title or a throne. You have to build it yourself, and then sit on it with the silence of someone who doesn't need applause. So stop chasing validation. Stop softening your edge to fit the room. Start becoming the philosopher of your own existence. Don't just consume ideas. Live them. Don't just admire strength. Forge it. And if you ever wonder what Nietzsche would say to you today, he wouldn't flatter you. He'd challenge you. He'd ask, why are you still waiting to become what only you can create? Let that echo, and walk away from this video not inspired, but ignited.